Morning, officer.
Maybe this is the pot calling the kettle black. This guy thinks he's a genius and he's a moron.
Oh, this is live.
Think of like the dumbest cave troll let you know.
You looked right at me when you said that.
You're not the dumbest.
Here are the facts as I see them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bandit Radio Hour Season 2, Biggerer and Betterer. We are back in the trailer with Merce, who now, as promised on being bigger and betterer, has his own microphone. Say hi, Merce, without screaming.
It was on sale.
It was.
Prime day.
Yeah, no lies detected so far in Season 2. We're off to a good start.
Podcast is doing well, but not that well.
No. So, like, everything's been, like, calm and cool since early July when we got off, right? Let me check, like, the news, current events, and market. And we're going to go right now to our top market correspondent in the field, Merce. What's the market doing?
It's all on fire.
Oh, okay.
It's bloody red.
Oh, all right. Another news. Merce, how's the dollar doing?
It's on fire.
Oh, yeah? Oh, wow. What about our, like, foreign relations and all that stuff?
Most of the world's on fire.
Okay, all right. All right, yeah, everybody, welcome to Season 2. Apparently, God doesn't want us to stop doing this, because when we do, it goes from bad to worse. But we're here to bring some good. We're here to bring some good to everybody and nurture us all back to a good place of being. Starting off, Merce, how was the ill-gotten state of Illinois?
Terrible.
Yeah, as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, it's Illinois.
Damn it, we're already there. All right, give me one story that exemplified Illinois.
Just miles and miles of corn.
Nothing interesting besides corn and flying a plane.
All ears and no one to hear your thoughts.
Jesus Christ, what? No. We're done with the Illinois discussion now. We're moving on because Mr. Punny Machine over here has too many, I don't know, energy bucks. That didn't make any sense. We're just going to roll with it. So what have I done in the past month and a half? Took care of my kids. A lot of work on the ranch. I flew to Detroit to drop off my son that lives in northern Michigan, far, far away from Detroit. And that was interesting. All right, so a lot of this podcast, I'm just going to go ahead and warn all you fine folks, a little bit of inside baseball.
I'm just picturing like reverse 8 Mile with you going to Detroit.
I would have gotten, like I think they hit someone with like a brick in that movie. They would have hit me with the brick like right when I showed up. Like, hey y'all, get him, pop. Oh Lord, me and Merce we talked about a lot of this stuff yesterday in like a pre-production meeting. But oh man, I got to Detroit. I dropped my son off to his mom. They took off 5.5 hours north. And I was like, man, you know what? Some of the people I've talked to have been really nice. Others look like they're chewing on bubble gum with their mouth open, but there's no bubble gum, and they're just biting at the air. It's like a land of Grateful Dead burnouts and their children that they've raised up to be like 35, 40. And it was, you know what? It was dirty, but like the one thing that blew my mind was when I would run into like a nice person there who was like from Detroit, and I was like, oh, look, how did you happen? I couldn't have stayed this chipper in this place. Well, wow, you're an impressive specimen, Mr. Gas Station Attendant. But yeah, I turned on the because I did not want to leave my hotel room because Detroit's terrifying, and because I apparently hate myself. I turned on the local news, and I'm going to share with everybody the 3 stories that came up. The first one was that I believe was very relevant, and it was supposed to be the top story, was that Snoop Dogg was starting a new cartoon for children. Man,
I saw that on, I think an ad for that on Facebook or something.
Yeah,
somewhere.
they're covering it like, oh, the ex-gangster rapper that was with NWA is now doing this.
He is great at marketing.
I'll give him this. He is. I kind of can't stand him. Just, I don't know why. When it comes to ghetto gangster rap, There's some about Snoop Dogg that's not intimidating. That with Dr. Dre, it's like, oh yes, sir, I'll listen to you. You're scary. You're gonna kick in my door and take my money. Even Tupac, even Biggie, like it was this deep, big voice that was like, ooh. But I don't know, Snoop Dogg, like you sound like the little shithead that's always asking me for a cigarette. Get away. Anyways, I digress. So first, heartfelt, lovely stories about Snoop Dogg starting the cartoon. Then they transitioned to how, like, in the past 2 to 3 weeks, 40 dogs in the local area have died from either being poisoned or a mysterious new illness that's infecting dogs. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty awful.
They're probably just drinking the water.
They might not Flint. This is Detroit. Everybody knows that about Flint that everyone, like, quit caring about a couple of years ago. Wasn't that like big for an election cycle?
Yeah.
Then everyone was like, screw these people. We're not really going to do anything.
Yeah, it was like the last election. I don't hear about it again.
Yep. But then to top off both of those, and this is a good descriptor, not of all white people I saw in Detroit, but the average white guy I saw in Detroit. So it's the news footage starts with gas station like CCTV footage. And it's a scrawny white guy that looks like a slightly cleaned up juggalo without his face paint. And he has gone up to the gas pump and he has a 5-gallon bucket, like a Home Depot bucket or a feed bucket, not or like a hydraulic bucket, not like a gas can. And he puts like 3 gallons of gas in the 5-gallon bucket, walks up to the gas station door, opens it, dumps the bucket inside the gas station as far as he can, lights some matches, throws them in, makes like a small explosion because you know what gas does when it's spread out. And that was like the day before and they still hadn't caught him. And this news report was like, hey, if y'all see the scrawny white guy looks like every other scrawny white guy in the local 10 miles, call the cops on them and they'll respond.
You didn't get thrown in jail for that.
Dude, no, I was like wearing flannel the whole time. Like, not one of them. Nope, flannel blue jeans. I'm not jersey shorts that are around my knees. The top of them around my knees, not the bottom where that's supposed to be around your knees. But I digress. So that's been our like personal excursions the past month and a half. That's why we had to take a break. We tried to attempt to set up like long distance Skype show, but then we're like, nah, we're not doing that. We're gonna do it live, damn it. We're gonna do it where we can chat with each other and y'all can hear it. I feel like it's a little more authentic.
It'll be live, then recorded it and edited, then sent to you.
Yes, and it'll all seem very authentic. Hopefully, by the time we're done with all of it. But yeah, that's our personal offings into why we've been gone. But now, let's get into the nitty gritty. I mean, this is kind of an everything show, but I think that one of the things I'm kind of good at chatting about is politics. So let's get into that for a minute. All right, and something starting off season 2 with a bang. I'm gonna eat a little bit of crow about someone I've kind of been 50-50 about talking crap and admiring certain things about, and that's Donald Trump. Now listen. Like on policy, I haven't changed much about what I think about his like policy prescriptions to fix the nation. Got my criticisms of him, got some praises of some. But if there's something I've heard from certain people in my camp of thinking the past like 4 to 5 years, and it's something that was really hard for me to like wrap my head around. Was like them saying like Trump has opened the door to a new kind of political discourse. And when I've heard that, I've kind of dismissed it, not totally, but just not taking it very seriously because I'm like, man, I think there's only like one Donald Trump and there's not going to be another one. But like,
could you imagine if there was 2?
Well, here's the thing, man. And like what we talked a little bit about yesterday, like with most things on the show, what did DeSantis say? Well, hang on. Before I get there, So I have been like aloft and like not being able to see what these people were talking about. Like Michael Malice says one of his best quotes is, "They thought Trump was the river, but he was just the dam." Like when he says they, like the corporate media, like they think, oh, if they just plug this like one thing, like it'll all go away. But like no, he's the one holding back all this new stuff that's about to come. And one of them, as soon as me and my producer heard it, the first thing we said was, he is channeling his inner Donald Trump. What did the solo monarch to be of Florida say?
You mean Emperor of Florida?
Emperor of the Republic of Florida, DeSantis. What did he say the other day?
About Fauci retired. He says, he's like, I'm tired of hearing that little elf. They just need to throw him across the Potomac.
Yeah, I think grab him by his neck and throw him across the
something.
Potomac. Something to that.
Throw the little elf across the Potomac.
Maybe I sprinkled some spice on it or something. But like, ooh. And I'll tell you, if there is a group of Republicans that I have a specialized hatred for, it is the Florida Republicans. Because it's like, of all, I don't know, I don't pay attention to, I live in Florida, so take me for what I am. But I don't pay attention to Nebraska Republicans as much. Maybe they're more corrupt. But like, I know the first, I think I've talked about it on here before. The first red flag laws tried in the nation, I believe. I know the Florida Republicans backed it in getting passed. A lot of the COVID regulations, a lot of the Florida Republicans, excluding DeSantis, were like, oh, whatever, do whatever your city council wants.
I think he even went with it like at the very beginning, and then he's like, okay, now it's too much, but
because it would have been suicide for Florida. Because what's our number one industry?
Tourism.
And COVID was like kneecapping tourists, and
which I mean we should still do because we're full.
Hey,
but
let me rephrase what I just said. The government regulations responding to COVID kneecapped tourism. Yeah. COVID didn't do it. I mean, it did some, but
I'm pro kneecapping.
He don't like visitors. I don't. I like the good visitors. I like the neat.
I don't mind visitors because visitors leave.
They yes, they do. And Mercer's opinions reflect his and his alone, and does not the entirety of the Bandit Radio Hour. But so back to me doing my favorite thing and talking trash about the Republicans, especially of Florida. Really bad. They're just as bad to conservative ideals as like the Democrats are to like the Florida Democrats are to, I don't know, leftist ideals. Like it's all just a corporate mishmash of the two. However, DeSantis doing that, making that comment, and some of the more bolder comments, like he's really been channeling his inner, that Trump, I don't care what mean things you say about me, I'm going to say meaner things.
I don't know if it's necessarily like channeling an inner Trump. I think Trump just opened the door with, I can say this and not give a damn.
Yet, your husband's a rapist. Like, it's the best debate one-liner ever. But better than anything Socrates come up with.
It's just nothing but mic drops.
Yeah, and so DeSantis channeling that. And so I'm seeing that, and I'm like, and now, me being Mr. Negative Nancy and being Mr. Party Poo-Poo on anything conservative, I'm like, well, that's just like, Trump and one other guy. Naysayer, that's what I was getting at, me being a naysayer. Like, maybe this is like a twice-in-a-lifetime moment. And then I see the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire not do a mic drop. They do like a mic on a table that smashes the table. And sorry, folks, we're going to get into Twitterverse for a minute, but it's just to really like hammer home. This is the first time I've seen this blossom in like the way that I was hearing people talk about it. So we know how like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the social media people like they're heavy on the censorship and the banning. And something that is harder to ban than just a typical account is an actual official political party's account. Now, saying that, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, which is that little tiny state up in the northeastern U.S., who is doing some awesome things. Not just the Libertarian Party, but like even the Republicans up there are like probably some of the best in the nation for stuff that we would actually value. And anyways, they made a post, and I'm gonna warn our listeners with sensitive ears to this one. They made a post on Twitter, the official political party of New Hampshire, Libertarian, that was Meghan McCain crying at her father's funeral over his casket. And above it, it said, Happy Holidays. And I believe it was the anniversary of John McCain's death. And, my first reaction whenever I saw it, even I was like, oh, dude, that's a little bit of a spicy meatball there. Like, it's not something, if I'm being completely honest, it's not something I would have done. And I feel like 15 years ago, if I'd have showed that to any of my family members, they'd have been like, that's repulsive, and like people shouldn't.
Well, yeah, John McCain wasn't dead yet.
Oh, ha. All right, maybe. I don't know who died 15 years. Anyways, besides the point, you prick. Like, people were like flipping out, like it got libertarianism trending on official Twitter for like most of the day, just from people flipping out at like, how dare you do this mean tweet? And then the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire like counters it by just going, hey, by the way, this guy's like at a minimum responsible for over 100,000 deaths in Iraq alone, and he helped vote for it. Like, we know you're outraged at what we just did, and making fun of a girl like crying at her dad's funeral, like, admittedly bad. That's like I said on Twitter, what is way worse? Like, killing all, like, we keep killing these people and no one cares. And I'm like, what a brilliant little 5D chess move to bring up this argument and get people talking about it. Like, hats off to, and it's funny, you saw people that were like, I don't know, what's a good way to put it? There are certain people that will talk and say things that we might agree with ideally. Like, some of them that come to mind, I don't know, like kind of like Justin Amashi people, or Justin Amash, and some like Republicans. There's a growing number of different Republicans, but they'll say their opinion, but they'll still like hold the government and the FBI and the CIA and the news stations, the corporate press, in like high regards. Like, it's still respectable entities, and how dare you associate them as being like these great American institutions as being bad.
I'm assuming we're not on that list.
No, we're on the other. It's one of the few lists we're not on. But by the way, a lot of downloads in Saudi Arabia. That one's got a scratch in our noggins here lately. That's a side thing, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. I never thought I'd say that, but I guess thank you, Saudi Arabia, or whoever's downloading through a server there. All right, but like, there are these people that still want to look respectable. That's what I'm looking for. They want to look respectable to the establishment and the corporate press. And they were the ones that, even though you might agree with most of their policies, they were just outraged because Donald Trump was the worst thing ever, or January 6th is literally worse than 9/11, or, crazy crap like that. This kind of exposed what do you care about more? How you look to blood-soaked warlords, or how do you think about what's actually right or wrong? And it was so neat to just see people sort themselves out. And I was like, so sorry if I went a little heavy on that on Twitter, and I'm going a little heavy on that on this podcast, but whatever. I'm fascinated by this stuff. And by the way, as I've criticized, I'm not a big Trump supporter. I think he should be tried for some war crimes, like every president. But at least what a interesting reality we live in. Me and Merce were talking about it yesterday. The older I get, the more like, and I can still believe in a God and all that, but I'm like, man, this is a simulation. We got Joe Biden as president. This is great. For all the wrong reasons, but like,
It's like watching a train wreck.
It is. It's like, wow, this guy got elected. And here's I was having a discussion with a family member about well, it has to be, the voting has to be rigged because like the 200 Mules or whatever that documentary that came, and hey, I am like totally open to, there might be a conspiracy to rig elections in favor of.
Well, I mean, our government's been rigging elections for years in other countries.
In other countries, and like, dude, I'll never forget with Ron Paul back in, help me, autistic Merce. What year did he get like really big? Was it 2012?
Yeah.
2012, yeah. And there was was it the Iowa caucus? So like, in the Republican and Democratic primaries, well, definitely in the Republican, they like all the people going for the Republican candidacy start like debate at different states, and it's a vote
like
inside that
they
state.
Silence the applause for him and stuff.
Dude, not only that, it was weird. Like it was out in the open.
Yeah, it was blatant.
It was so blatant. Like not only like did the news coverage like mute applause. I'm not certain they muted applause. I don't want to claim that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, no, like they walked on stage, like everybody else got claps. Where he walked out, it was dead silence.
Yeah,
but you could see the people clapping.
There's a great Jon Stewart clip. It's one of my favorite ones where it's like, they're like, the debater goes like, well, they're in South Carolina, I think. I think that's where this debate is. And he goes, well, Mr. Ron Paul, are you in fact advocating that the government legalize heroin? This is like Ron Paul's a country doctor from Texas. And he goes, well, this is South Carolina. He goes, if I'm being honest, I just don't think if the government said we could, everyone here would go out and do heroin. He goes, I don't think we need the government to tell us to do that. And, dude, the audience goes nuts, like not in a bad way. Like they're like cheering and clapping, and he's like, "We shouldn't lock people up for this." And it cuts to the debate monitor, who is like rolling his eyes. and to Jon Stewart's credit, back when the Daily Show was hilarious, he was like, "Why?" Like, but no. What? So aside from that, dude, I think it was before that South Carolina debate. There was like an Iowa debate or maybe a New Hampshire debate. I want to say it was somewhere up north and more than likely towards the east. But like the votes came in from all these different counties and had to arrive by mail trucks. And man, look it up. I might be wrong. I'm open to correction. But this is like something like 5 or 6 years ago I last heard this or read this, but it's reliable. The mail trucks from 3 different counties were halted until the winner was declared, and then and it wasn't Ron Paul, and then 2 weeks after that caucus and the winner of that, I think it wasn't Mitch McConnell. Oh, it was a young looking stupid guy. I can't remember, but he had taken the lead. And it's like 2 weeks after that guy had taken the lead, they're like, oh, really quietly, they're like, oh, by the way, Ron Paul actually won Iowa. But whatever, that's 2 weeks ago.
To take away all of his momentum.
Yes. And he got the most donations from veterans than any other, I believe still to this day, any other candidate in history.
We didn't listen.
I'm sorry. I didn't even write down or plan to be talking about Ron Paul. And yeah, dude, great old man. So I took that very long-winded, side-railed approach to say conservatives that are ultra concerned about election integrity and Biden being the most unpopular president ever, which I don't even know if that's true. Listen, Biden sucks. Woodrow Wilson started the IRS. Biden sucks at hiring a bunch of new, but he's not the worst ever.
Lincoln started income tax.
Yeah,
so, just had to get that off my chest.
Merce really's got a chewer against him. But no, I'm open to evidence of that. But I don't know, maybe I have not seen the evidence that all these people have seen. My other question is, then why are Republicans winning at all? And I don't know. But I digress. I genuinely think there is an alternate explanation besides voter rigging, which I'm open to there being voter rigging, but I believe most of the people are that stupid. And like the irony of it is when I say that stupid, I'm not like saying think of like the dumbest cave troll that you know. It's like no, like
You looked right at me when you said that.
you're not the dumbest. But no, like a good example of this is like think about when people voted for your class president. And I'm not even thinking of a particular one, but like I'm thinking about how most of the kids in high school were just like, yeah, I'm like this person's the best or that person's the best. And it's like we're almost trained from a very young age to just unquestionably go along with authority. And like I'm not saying like every kid in school should question every single thing a teacher says, quite, but we're taught to just go along with it. Even if this authority figure's wrong, you just keep going along with it. And I think when half the country was scared out of its mind over COVID and Trump and whether pro or against any of it, I think most people went, "Oh, I'm scared. I want this to change, so I'll mark the other guy in the ballot box." That's my guessing. So, yeah, that's. However, despite despite the best efforts of them trying to make Trump look bad, then the FBI goes and shoots itself right in the foot by invading Mar-a-Lago. And man, let me tell you, like I said, I've ragged on Trump in the past. If he did what I think he did, another masterclass stroke by whatever that is about him that works. Because I think he. This is me making assumptions, like so. Don't etch this in stone that the bandit said this. I think it was a lot like, in case you didn't hear, the FBI raided his house in Mar-a-Lago. What was it, like 30 FBI agents or something like that?
Yeah, when he was in New York. And...
Yeah, right after he left, they ran in there. They hired a safe cracker to get in this very important safe that had very important documents. And they get in, and they're not releasing what they found. And it's like, there's a big part of me that really thinks when Trump was like in charge, he's like, all right, Secret Service, y'all got to know where everything is. Well, this is my house in Mar-a-Lago. This is my very secret room. And hey, in my very secret room, there's my very secret safe that has all my very important stuff in there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And really, there's like, I don't know, a picture of a middle finger sitting in the safe or something. And if he made it, whatever
just one
it is,
pile of fake dog poop.
Yeah, really, whatever it is, it better be something substantial, or else they're just making themselves look so incompetent. And you know, when we were growing up, if there was a person saying like the FBI was out to get the average American or they just wanted to control you or something like that, they tended to be like the burnout hippie on the edge of town. Or
riding on the house.
Or a lot of, yes, riding on the house. That Bill Cosby's a rapist. Listen to season 1 if you don't get that reference. But no, like now it's your average trucker. It's your average just common Joe with access to some information that I don't.
That's just like morning diner conversations.
It really is. Like, this is something interesting. I like this brewing. But with all this going on, we do got to have a good old fashioned pulling it back from season 1. A bandit, my bad. I just want to go ahead get this out of the way. I think I talked about one of the early episodes of season 1 about talking a lot about John McCain tonight, but the John McCain Lindsey Graham trip to Ukraine in 2016 when they tell the Ukrainian fighters that we're going to help y'all launch an offensive war against Russia. I presented that in the context of like, nothing happened before this point. That was corrected by a Ukrainian man whose name I could never hope to pronounce. He said, well, this was in response to Russia annexing Georgia and doing other stuff. I'm like, okay. So I'm not saying I was completely wrong about my point, but just some of the context I was a little iffy on. But we talked about the political stuff. Now I want to get into some fun stuff. Merce, Which cryptid or like legendary monster or something like that is the closest to being real? Do you think has the most evidence in favor of it?
I mean, probably gonna go Bigfoot just from the alleged.
Bitch, yes, Bigfoot. All right, go ahead. No, finish your very original thought.
Well, that's the only reason.
It's not shadow people. It's not aliens. It's not gnomes. It's not. Okay, go ahead.
It's crab people.
It'd be more. All right. Why do you think Bigfoot exists?
Oh, I don't think any of them exist.
You're not fun.
I was just thinking, you said I had to pick one. I was like, well, Bigfoot's the one you hear the most about, so basically more people.
I'm not gonna lie. I believe in some weird stuff. I'll look at my politics. But Bigfoot, I'm like, man, some redneck would have shot it and mounted it by now.
Oh, he's been mounted.
Or he's done the mountain.
Yeah, giggity. But I would say something ocean related, probably, if anything,
Ooh.
just because it's so hard to. I'm not saying megalodon but maybe like kraken. I mean, they've done the giant squid. There's some. I would say probably a sea monster of some form.
All right. On that note, there is this awesome series on YouTube called Bedtime Stories, and like they even say it themselves, like, "Hey, we're trying to be entertaining with this, but we try to keep it as truthful and factual as we can." And there was this really neat report they had where I think they were attaching. They covered like mysteries and unsolved weird stuff. One of the things they were talking about mysteries of the ocean. I think it was off the coast of Australia where it just drops off of the coral reef or something like that and goes straight down but I don't think it's the Mariana Trench, but it's something like similar to that. And they had a GPS locator on like a seal or a dolphin or some fish. Anyways, at one point they're going to like track it. And the fish goes from like its natural place at like, I don't know, 40 feet below the surface or something like that, to all of a sudden it goes down this trench at a speed faster than what a great white could go. And it goes straight down to till I think the GPS locator is like crushed from pressure.
So the stock market.
Yeah. It's something similar. Actually, I don't think it went that far, that fast, that hard. But yeah. But I don't know. I was watching the Missing 411 series again. I don't think I've ever talked. Have I ever talked to you about that?
I don't think so.
So the gist of it is it's this private, not a private detective, I guess private reporter. I can't remember his name, but he started this book series called Missing 411. 411 means information. And all it's about is he did research in like America's state and national parks that are mostly forests and stuff like that. And how often people just disappear, but like they'll be with a group of people and the group of people like turn around and they're just gone. Like they turn the corner and the dude's gone. And it's really inexplicable. They find weird stuff. Like one was a dad walking with like his 8-year-old son or something like that. And they're running around having fun. His son would run up like 100 feet. The dad would catch up with him. And the son turns the corner and the dad walks up like 100 feet. And the son's not there. He's like, hey, where'd you go? They get searched. They get dogs. They get everything to try to find the kid. No one can find him. And it's like 5 years later, up on a ridge, like a mile, or maybe like a quarter mile away, but up on like mountain climbers climbing like a hardcore ridge, they find the kid's pants, socks, and shirt all neatly folded and put on a log with a skull that had been like crushed. The kid's skull. And that's how they found out it was him. It's like, and it's all weird. So if Bigfoot exists, he's doing some weird stuff in the woods with like yoking people, but I don't think it's.
I was saying, how great would he be at laundry though?
kids clothes was folded. Hey!
I mean, you passed the murder part.
Just keep them on chains. Have them do some laundry. Got free SLAVE.
What was the series? It's got like the crazy interdimensional stuff, like the crazy monsters. There's like shorts on Facebook about it sometimes.
Was it Stranger Things?
No, it's
The Mist, the greatest movie ever.
Let's not even start on how that ended. But
I made all my friends angry and told them it was the best movie ever. And if you ever watch The Mist, it is, especially that last like 2 minutes. Show it to a bunch of people that have never seen it before. It's great.
Instant anger.
Instant. Everybody hated me. I loved it. I fed off of it. And while we're talking about like fun little famous internet things, I'm surprised at how many people do not know the story. It's one of my most favorite internet stories of all time. The Internet Historian YouTube channel does a brilliant breakdown of it, and I'm just going to like gloss over kind of some of the details. But you know the fine Catholic actor Shia Shia, the crazy guy that ripped out his tooth for a tank movie? That one?
Yeah.
There's gifs of him clapping a lot. But anyways, with Shia LaBeouf, I didn't know about this, but I think this was definitely when Donald Trump, I think, was first selected as the Republican primary. So he was like running for president for sure on the Republican ticket. Shia LaBeouf like rented out a space on the main strip in New York and put up a video camera and a flag. I believe it was a flag that said he will not replace. No, not he will not replace us. That was the tiki torches at what do you call it? Charlottesville. No, he put up like Trump will not intimidate us or something like that. And he had a live feed going the whole time. He's like, this is my protest to Donald Trump. Well, the great and honorable and noble website community known as 4chan decided to make a challenge out of screwing with Shia LaBeouf. And at first, it started with going up to his live feed of his little exhibit in New York and like leaving a recording playing of Hitler's Mein Kampf speech. So that would be playing on Shia LaBeouf's like feed. Shia LaBeouf would like show up and like smash the recorder or whatever. He'd be giving a heartfelt like speech about how bad I don't know redneck America is or whatever, and people would go up behind him like yelling Jew jokes or being 4chan, being like just edgelords and freaking him out so much, he decided to close down his little exhibit there in New York, but he would not be defeated. He decided to buy some property and didn't let anybody know where it was and put back up the live news feed out on his like little 5-acre or whatever ranch off some random place and raised back up his flag and put a camera looking at it and said like, haha, 4chan, y'all can't get like, whatever, I win.
I feel like they instantly went challenge accepted.
Merce. Based off of his live feed, they looked at the stars in the sky and triangulated how many stars you could see at sunset at first glance, like looking at that direction. Then they noticed 2 airplanes that happened to be like flying in 2 different directions on the feed. Looked up the plane routes, looked for like they figured out what 2 flights it was.
Our forefathers crossed oceans using this technology. They did this out of spite.
Dude, it gets even better. One of them once they figure out what region of what state it is, one of them jumps in a truck and starts driving the back roads, beeping the horn on the truck until they can hear it on the live feed. They figure out where it is. They sneak onto his property. They steal his damn flag and get a MAGA hat and like some kind of other, I don't know if it was a rebel flag, it was some edgelord flag, and hang it up.
That is just great.
Dude, he retreats from there. He ends up going to London and renting a high rise and doing the same thing. Literally, they get drones and try, and he has armed security. And like, dude, I just described.
So this is why he went crazy.
Dude, this is like part of the reason he went crazy. Like, I just described 3 rounds out of 6. Like. Go watch the Internet Historian. It's fascinating, and
and now he's Catholic.
Supposedly, which Catholics are a fascinating bunch. They're either no, I guess they're just like everybody else. Like some of the stuff they say like fascinates me. I'm like, wow, that's actually deep and makes me actually kind of give some
I can't understand most of it because it's usually in Latin.
I went to a Catholic mass once, and I felt it was odd to my very southern self. Although when I went to Kentucky, and went to like the backwoods of Kentucky and whatever small town that was. Everybody was Catholic. Like I thought they'd all be Mexican with how many Catholic churches.
I was picturing snakes.
No, that's Texas. And hey, something you got to say about the people that dance with the snakes. They got faith.
Yeah.
Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. That hurt. No, thank you. Although, hey, something I know I have talked good and dug at the Amish a little bit and the Mennonites on this show. Something I really got to say is I used to look at them like, what an odd religion to just stop using technology after an X date. Like, what an arbitrary thing to pick.
I don't get that because where I was at in Illinois, there's a huge Amish community right down the road, and they're horse and buggy.
Oh, there's something interesting about Illinois, is there?
Well, maybe the Amish.
Okay, continue.
Something was amish about their community.
From 30 minutes ago is upset, but keep going.
No, all their roofs have solar panels, which blows my mind. They use electricity, but only if it's like DC.
Well, I mean, I don't think we have to worry about offending Amish people unless y'all are breaking y'all's Amish stuff and y'all are listening to us.
They have phones. They hide them. It's just like a whole thing.
Well, here's my thing. Theoretically, at least.
I saw a horse and buggy at a McDonald's in the drive-thru.
Well, Merce, you just kind of... I'm going to tell everybody what I was thinking before Merce corrected me. I was about to say how, I kind of respect and how cool it is that they just chose a time and, man, it seems like people become too dependent on the system, and we're cutting it off right there. And I was like, man, that looking around nowadays, that's pretty smart. But never mind, they got phones and go to McDonald's. And
no, they're still, independent, self-reliant stuff, but it's also a big tax loophole.
There was a guy in Lakeland. I went and visited his ranch, and he was showing me how he's like an engineer that I could never hope to be. He was talking about how he could convert his house to off the grid, and he lived comfortably in a 2-story house. But one of the things he was working on, which I still cannot wrap my head around, and he said he either learned from the Amish or the Mennonites, and I was telling Merce a little bit about this the other day. He had So he had a PVC pipe coming out of the ground, and it was going into what looked like a metal small keg. It'd be the bet on the ground and a PVC pipe coming out of the small metal keg. Also on the small metal keg, there was a lever or something hooked up to a contraption that went into the metal keg. And this guy went out to this keg, cranked the lever on it 5 or 6 times, and then was like, I will now have pressurized water for the next 2 to 3 hours. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense. No, you need a pressurized electricity to get the pump going and all that. And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, I guess. But so Amish are on to something. But Merce shot those dreams down in the dirt like it was goose. And I don't know if this is going to be the final thing we get in tonight, but it's gonna be something. There are these themes throughout history that I just really love analyzing, at least with our modern view of them.
The plague?
No, I kind of think the plague's been done to death. I did one.
I can appreciate it.
Yeah,
that was funny.
I'll try, but no. One of the things is immigration. And not even I'm leaving our current debate about the country's current debate about immigration alone, just through a historical lens. It's wild. One of the things, one of my favorite founding fathers, who's not all good guy, he's kind of a prick in some circumstances, but Ben Franklin, just wild. One of the things he freaked out about was there was no immigration quota or standard, at the inception of this country. It was just if you could come here and you could figure out a place to stay or buy property or whatever, come here and you figure it out. But Ben Franklin is, I don't know if he's one of the first, but he's definitely one of the first big ones to start going hey, there is this group of people that are moving here en masse. And if we're not careful, they're going to change our good and somewhat British and French cultures into their abominable one that they come from, and that they can't even conceive of our type of law and like civilization that we have here. They're the Germans and the Dutch. And he is freaking out. And so the person I'm listening to, I think it was Kathy Mangu Ward of Reason, who, well, hey, she said something cool every now and then. In a way, like he didn't get immigration standards passed like he wanted. But in a way, he was absolutely right. She said the Germans came here. Now, maybe not about understanding the law or stuff like that, but and what great American things do we have? Hamburger, which is based on meat from Hamburg, Germany.
Volkswagens.
But no. There's a insertion. History buffs got a giggle out of that. A lot of other people didn't.
You know who founded Volkswagen?
Yeah. We're not going to try to talk about that and get canceled right out the bat for season 2 with everything else we say.
I mean, I did not see that.
No. You know how many times I hear people say I did not see that coming, and now I just hear what you just said, and it's like, yeah. Anyways, stupid internet puns. No, but like another thing they did. So what? There was hamburgers, there was hot dogs, there was apple pie. I believe is actually like was big on. I might be flaky on that one. Don't take that.
The wooden shoes never took off here.
Thank God. But yeah, that was something he was freaking out about. It was like the Germans, and they kind of did. However,
I feel like a lot of people over the centuries have freaked out about the Germans.
Oh, dude, what? There was one. I cannot remember his name, but there was one historian. He said, "I can trace everything wrong with the 20th and 21st century back to Germany existing, or maybe it was the like 19th and 20th century." But he's like, Vladimir Lenin's from Germany. Was it or Karl Marx? Karl Marx was the German. I can't remember. One of them's a German. There's like Hitler's a German or an Austrian or whatever. And there's something like way back before them that was bad about the area.
Fall of Rome.
However, hey, Germans that may or may not be listening to this in the Deutschland, like I ain't got no bones with you. I'm cool with everybody. But one of my like favorite little immigration things I've ever read, and I think it was in Tom Wood's book, The Politically Inaccurate Guide to American History. And it's this excerpt of in like the late 1800s when progressivism is really taking off, like a little bit before Woodrow Wilson. They go like, hey, we got to have some standards on the people coming into this country and yada, 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 and make sure the right people are coming in. So, and since back then, like everyone, not everyone, but the ruling elite are like scientifically racist. Like, I'm not trying to get on SJW bandwagon, but they're like, oh, clearly, like, there are superior races that are superior cultures that take over others, so they're the ones that win and are right, and that's why you got, like, British imperialism. That's one of the things that justifies it, and American imperialism. But anyways, getting off subject. They try to, like, quantify, based on that logic, like, who can come here. And maybe it's my sick mind, but it's, like, one of the most hilarious things I've ever read. Because they're like, all right, let's start at the base, like, racist view. Like, well, the people from the European countries are good, and the people from, like, the African countries, like, we got to limit those. And they're like, oh, yeah, everyone's here is in agreement. Then there's, like, one guy that's like, hang on. Where do the Chinese fit into that scale? And this is like on like public record, like them debating this. Like, well, hang on. Chinese better than an African, but they ain't no European. And then like, dude, it goes back like, well, what about Southern Italians? that's getting, and they keep trying to put scientific metrics on this like arbitrary scale. And finally someone drops the bomb that's like, hey, listen. I know we started with the default position that Europeans are good, but have y'all noticed that it's a lot of Irish coming in up north? They're like clearly like they're like, oh, well, hang on, that just messed up our whole formula. Let's rethink this whole
Back
thing,
to the drawing
dude. And I'm like, the fact that Don't get me wrong. Some of them might have even been the smartest people of their time. The fact they're looking through the world through this such a backwards lens, it's like, and everyone takes them as the authority at the time. It's like, and I'm like, what a bonkers thing that people do. And we're gonna get into our like final new segment tonight. Season 2, we are more professional and bigger and better, and we have segments now.
The professional, there's some hardcore air
Yes,
quotes.
mostly when we run out of stuff to talk about, we're just going to default back to this thing to eat up some time. But it's going to provide y'all with entertainment, we promise, and it will be factual. It is today in Florida Man, whereas Merce, my producer, will Google Florida Man and the day of, and we're going to find out what's going on. I'm going to react to it, and we're going to share some news stories of our great state. So, Merce, let's start with number 1. What is it, like something like some guy robs a McDonald's with an alligator or what?
20 hours ago, Florida man arrested for trying to buy 8-year-old girl for $100,000.
An 8-year-old grill?
Girl.
Human. Child.
Is that high or low?
Nope. Stop. Hang on. Don't even go into descriptors of... No. Wow. Holy, that started dark. This is supposed to be funny. Where? What part of Florida?
Port Orange. He approached the child's mom.
And just threw a bid down?
Apparently. A Florida sex offender was arrested after he allegedly tried to purchase an 8-year-old girl at a Winn-Dixie. Helmuth Kolb approached the child's mom in Port Orange and made the indecent proposal.
Where is Port Orange? Northern Florida?
I want to feel like that's like near Orlando-ish.
It's away from us.
Yeah, well.
So he just went up to the mom and is like, yo, $100,000. First of all, he just has $100,000? Or is both?
He was already on probation and was banned from having contact with children after trying to buy a different child in Walmart in 2018.
Where's he from? Because here's the thing with most of these Florida man stories. They tend to be people that came from other parts of the U.S.
I haven't gone that far.
Okay, all right.
Reading this live. I don't know where he's from originally,
but anyways, wow,
and that one's kind of stealing most of the headlines. The second one from yesterday: dad chokes driver who tried to run Florida family off road in hate crime.
Well, hang on. That story. So a guy is the guy and his family is getting run off the road by a guy, and he starts choking the guy that's running them off the road.
A Florida man was found guilty of a hate crime after trying to drive a Florida family off the road in a racially motivated attack. Okay.
Oh, no, the guy ran the family off the road.
Yes.
Supposedly, I'm guessing due to ethnic or racial reasons, supposedly.
A driver.
Don't get me wrong, I think it's bad either way if that's what he did, but I'm just, why slap hate on it? I'm wondering.
Yeah, so apparently the guy tried to run the black family off the road, and it says, then the attack escalated at a red light when the man got out of his car, charged and tried punching the father. It says, but the incident ended when the dad, who was black, got the man in a chokehold.
Oh.
What Jordan Patrick didn't know is that
Jordan Patrick, that's a white dude. That's a white guy. That ain't no Juan Ramirez.
Yeah. It says what he didn't know is that the father is a martial artist.
Where is this?
Pinellas County.
Oh, there we go. That's striking it home.
That is just the top 2.
Dude, that's a good story. That's better than Detroit stories. Detroit stories made me sad.
Yeah, that's just right out of the gate. 16 hours ago, 3 men shot, 1 killed near Robert Sanders Senior Public Library, Tampa police say. And then followed by the next headline for another story, I never saw the alligator. How a Tampa Bay man survived vicious attack.
Of course. And I'll tell you this about like gator bites and stuff like that. It's always in tourist-heavy places.
I know this is a segment, but there's just so many headlines that should not be there.
It's easy pickings. Speaking of easy pickings, we're gonna steal a little bit from a lot of the not a lot, a couple of the podcasts I've been listening to. And a man lost his career this past week. And he's one of the people that actually inspired me to take Merce up on his offer of starting this podcast. And it's one, Brian Stelter. And he was the anchor on CNN's News Watch. And what his job was, his show was about the state of the news media in the current day. So, like, he would report on how everybody was covering a subject. And working at CNN, you could only imagine how he covered everything, exactly like you would expect. Like, anyways, if you look up, Google image him, Brian Stelter. This guy was so, like, unlikable and so, like, no original...
he's got a punchable face.
Oh, dude. Yeah, he's a fat little piggy. He's all of his opinions come out of the corporate.
With that much teeth?
Dude, he's like 34.
Oh, life was not kind to him.
No, and he could be anywhere from like 34 to like 52.
That hairline's 52.
That hairline's 52 hard. But dude, like, he was the one you would watch him, and now I didn't really prepare for this segment. But a lot of the stuff you would see him report on is like, well, why are people complaining about their liberty being taken from them during COVID whenever Dr. Fauci's just trying to help heal people? And it's like, hang on, you didn't even just make an argument. You just what? And anyways, I guess CNN has been so terrible in ratings. Like, literally, there's a good chunk of YouTubers that get much more views than CNN.
Oh, they've been getting massacred.
And this guy was one of the first ones to get cut and let go. So, yeah, in the words of Liberty Lockdown with Clint Russell, like, this was one of the few people I saw on TV or whatever that I would get infuriated at. And I'm like, they can't be this dumb. Like, you can't. So he's either like, and when I say this dumb, not even like, oh, he can't be this dumb to have this opinion. No. You can't be this dumb at presenting propaganda. Like, if your goal is to make people think a certain way, like, I'm like, oh, maybe you're getting a real hardcore 1%, but that's it. Maybe more than 1%, but anyways, it's an odd crowd. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. You're going to be catching us more often than you have been. Thank y'all for listening, downloading, streaming. Our numbers got bigger than I would have ever thought they would for season 1. So thank y'all very much. Follow us on Twitter, at Bandit Radio Hour. You can follow us on Instagram, the same thing. We still haven't gotten that Facebook thing up. We might, and definitely no TikTok. We haven't made it big and sold out yet. Yet. But we will be back, folks. Keep tuning in, keep rocking on, and the Bandit will talk at y'all later. Thank you very much.